Good day, students. Welcome to mathgotserved.com. In this clip, we're going to be going over how to find the intercepts of quadratic functions. If this sounds like what you're looking for, go ahead and subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to access the wide collection of our tutorials in the description below. Alright, the instructions are as follows. We are to find the intercepts of the given quadratic. Okay, find the intercepts, basically the x and y intercepts of the given quadratic function. Alright, so let's say we have the quadratic function f of x equals negative 2x squared minus x plus 1. Okay, so let's go ahead and start off by looking for the y-intercept. So we want to find the y-intercept. Now if we want to find the y-intercept, all we're simply going to do is set the function, set x equal to 0 and solve. Okay, so if you want to look for one intercept, for example, you want to look for the y-intercept, you set the other variable to 0 and solve. And if you want to find the x-intercept, you set y equal to 0 and solve. Very similar. Okay, so we have the function f of x, which we can write as y equals negative 2x squared minus x plus 1. So we're going to set x to 0. Okay, so we're going to have y equals negative 2 times 0 squared minus 0 plus 1. Now we're going to use the order of operations to find out what y is. Y is equal to 0 squared 0 times negative 2 0 minus 0 plus 1, and we have y equals 1. So our y-intercept is 1. If you want to write it as a point on a graph, the y-intercept is given by the point 0, 1. Okay, this is basically the point on the graph where the graph of the parabola intersects the y-axis. Now let's go ahead and find the x-intercept. How do we do that? How do we find the x-intercept? It's very similar to how we found the y-intercept. Okay, so if we want to find the x-intercept, what we're going to do is we're going to set the other variable, namely y. We're going to set y equal to 0 and solve. Okay. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that. So we will start with a quadratic function. Y equals negative 2x squared. Remember, we're replacing f of x with y minus x plus 1. We set y to 0. So we have 0 equals negative 2x squared minus x plus 1. Now what we have here is a quadratic equation. We're going to solve it by factoring. You can also solve this using completing the square, graphing, or the quadratic formula, but we're going to use the factoring method here. We're going to use the AC factorization method. So AC goes on top, B goes on the bottom. Okay, so in this particular problem, A is negative 2, B is negative 1, C is 1. Alright, so A is negative 2, B is negative 1, and C is 1. So we put it into this AC setup that we have here. AC is negative 2 and B is negative 1. Now we ask ourselves, what two numbers multiply to give you negative 2 and add to give you negative 1? We have 2 and negative 1. Alright, 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. 2 minus 1 is not negative 1. So let's fix the sign. Let's try. How about we try negative 2 and 1? Alright, negative 2 plus, yeah, that works. Alright, so we're going to put these two numbers in the middle. So we have negative 2x squared. And then instead of negative x, we're going to replace it with negative 2x plus 1x plus 1. Of course, we're going to set it equal to 0. Okay, now we can factor by grouping. Alright, we break it down the center and factor by grouping. Alright, so from the first two, we're going to factor out the GCF, which is negative 2x. So we factor out negative 2x, we're left with x plus 1. And then from the next two, we just factor out the GCF, which is 1, and we're left with x plus 1. Alright, the two quantities in the parentheses are identical, so that's excellent. We factor that out. And then the terms left on the outside will group together in their own parentheses. Okay, now we're going to set it equal to 0, both quantities, x plus 1 equals 0, negative 2x plus 1 equals 0, and solve for our x-intercepts. For the first one, we just subtract 1 from both sides. And then from this one, we can also subtract 1. The first one is solved. We have x equals negative 1, our first y-intercept. And then we have negative 2x equals negative 1. Divide that by negative 2. And that will give us our second x-intercept, which is x equals 1/2. Okay? All right, so our x-intercepts are negative 1 and 1/2. If we want to write it as points, our x-intercepts will be negative 1, 0, and 1/2, 0. Alright, so that's basically how you find the intercepts of a quadratic function. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch this presentation. Really appreciate it. If you found the contents of this tutorial helpful in your studies of quadratics, do give us a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, post it in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel at mathgotserved for more updates. More tutorials can be found at mathgotserved.com. Do check it out. Thanks again for watching and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.